The country of Colombia isn't a tropical island or the biggest country in the world, but to me it is the most interesting country. One of the best components of the amusing country Colombia is the geography. Welcome to an exclusive look in Colombia's geography. Colombia's geography varies from the borders of Colombia to the flora and fauna. Get ready to dig deeper into the amazing topic of geography. Throughout this documentary, you may want to think about the question, how are the citizens of Colombia affected by the geography? Now get ready to watch the best documentary of your life. To start off, a country that is as interesting as Colombia needs a lot of borders. Colombia definitely fits that trait. To the country's northwest stands Panama. To its east stands Venezuela and Brazil. Finally, to the southwest is Peru and Ecuador. All of these borders are in the south of Central America and the north of South America. That kind of gives you a picture of where Colombia is located. Within the borders of Colombia lives a wonderful culture with many different regions and landforms. In Colombia, there are many different regions that have many different attributes. To start, one of the regions are the mountains. There are many individual mountains, but there are two major mountain ranges, one being the Cordillera Occidental, West Andes, and the second one being the Cordillera Oriental, East Andes. Those are at the top of the country. Another region is the rainforest. The rainforest takes up most of the southern part of Colombia, so most of the citizens live in the mountains where Bogota is located. The rainforest in most of southern Colombia is the well-known Amazon. The Amazon rainforest takes up about 10% of Colombia. The last major region in Colombia is the coastal and eastern plains. The plains are at a low altitude, as most plains are in the world. Now you know what I see about how exciting the regions are in Colombia. Not only does Colombia have fascinating borders and regions, the country has a unique climate. The coastal and eastern plains are very tropical, while the highlands are cool. In Colombia, they don't have seasons. The different regions have different weather. Northmost places have annual temperatures of 65 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Getting into the higher regions above 9,000 feet is where it starts getting cooler with annual temperatures of below 50 degrees Fahrenheit. It is not only colder as you get to the higher altitude, it gets snowy. 15,000 feet is when the snow line begins and when it starts to get really snowy, almost like the Rocky Mountains. The rainforest is tropical because it is right next to the equator. With the unique climate, only certain flora can survive in Colombia. In Colombia, there are 4,000 different species of plants that include 700 species of trees, orchids, fruits, and medicine plants. The plentiful trees are pine, oak, and olive trees. Think about it. Here in Cancarol, the plentiful trees are aspens. There are a lot of flowers, but the ones that are common flowers are the rose and chrysanthemums. There also needs to be some sort of fruit because Colombia has the perfect geography to grow them. The fruits are papaya, mangoes, melon, pineapple, passion fruit, and bananas. These fruits are very tropical and grow almost anywhere. Like I said before, some medicine plants grow in Colombia. Those are epac, quinine, and castor bean. Those are in a lot of medicine people use today. A really interesting fact is cacti and agaves grow up to 60 feet. One of the last plants I'm going to talk about is the woody plants. That category includes chicle, sarsaparilla, ginger, chirimoya, guanana banana, sapote, grenadilla, pitaya, hortisinal, eucalyptus, vine shrubs, and mosses. Now the very last plant I will mention is fascinating. It is coffee, Colombia's biggest export. Flora is a huge part on how the Colombians live, but so is the fauna. The fauna doesn't have as near much stuff as flora, but there are still quite a few animals. If you really think hard about it, most of Colombia is near water, or has a rainforest near them.
so it would make sense that most of the fauna would be water animals, including dolphins, stingrays, guppies, neon tetras, arapaima, and piranhas. In the forest live the national animal, a condor. Many awesome mammals and reptiles also live in Colombia. As you can see, Colombia has a wonderful selection of fauna. So now that we have covered most of the geography in Colombia, is there anything that you feel I have missed? If so, this may answer your questions. Did you know that the population in Colombia is 46,245,297? The land area of Colombia is 401,042 square miles. This land was named after Christopher Columbus. As I said before, most of the citizens in Colombia live in Bogota, and that is the capital of Colombia. This should have answered some of your lingering questions. Colombia is a terrific country and one meant to be talked about. With this amazing geography and incredible land features, you sure have something to go home and talk about at your dinner table. Marvelous geography leads to marvelous culture.
Come to Colombia. Many tourists say that the sandy beaches, the tropical paradise, and all in all, it is a great place to be. 90% of Colombians speak Spanish, and people highlight that the country is a great musical heritage and has an outstanding culture. In places, the culture has been influenced from what Christopher Columbus has done. He has founded the country to serve and changed the culture. Also, he had made the name Colombia after himself. The country is a great mix of cultural ideas and bad culture too. Some good cultural is festivals, food, and clothing. They tell a lot about the culture, but it has many drug addicts. The culture has amazing things about it, like the Colombian culture is very diverse and varies depending on the different regions in Colombia. In some areas, the culture finds specialties like the roasted hams or guinea pigs, while in other areas, surviving and touch those dishes. The culture is very important in this region. It keeps visitors in and out. First, the food is so delicious. The food is spicy, meat, Mexican kind of food. It has been around from when the Spanish got meat from animals. Colombia is not the paradise for vegetarians, as the Colombian diet includes a lot of meat. In the coastal areas, you'll find a good variety of fish, lobster, and seafood, often prepared with sauce made out of coconut milk. The offer of fresh fruit is overwhelming, and many of the varieties of you have probably never heard of before. Cuisines are mostly different in South America. They have foods you might never heard of, like ajiaco, arepa, and more. This food has brought many tourists to this delicious country. Sports in Colombia refers to the practice of sports in Colombia. There are many professional sport leagues, as well as amateur leagues for numerous sports. Football and cycling are the most popular sports in Colombia. The government of Colombia sponsors numerous individuals and teams nationality and internationality through the Ministry of Culture and competitions in representation of Colombia. Professional sports achievements are subject to national pride for Colombians. The Colombians have been a very great cultural help to the cultures around the world, telling what to do and what not to do. Throughout the Spanish history, the country's ethnically diverse population has enriched Colombia with a wide range of cultural expressions in music, art, and literature, which can be admired in museums, art galleries, libraries, and public spaces.
Colombia is a beautiful country full of color and dancing. They also have colorful buildings. The things I'm going to be talking about is the government and the leaders of Colombia. The government in Colombia is a republic democracy. The first leader in Colombia is Lauren Gomez, which gives me the answer to my focus question. Who is the first leader in Colombia? The leaders are elected by the people of Colombia, which is two people that go up against each other for election. The terms in Colombia are 8 years. If they get voted again, they get to serve another 8 years. Isn't that a long time to be
Colombia has
served?
changed so much the past few centuries, starting with no claimers compared to now having a population of approximately 47.2 million percent, sharing a total land area of 4,309,735 square miles, with an exact growth each year of 4.3%. Without a doubt, Colombia is one of the most fascinating countries in the world, but without the claimers that have stayed or moved, Colombia wouldn't be as fascinating as today. I'll be telling you about who claimed Colombia and how they left it and what it was before, as well as the other claimers left Colombia and how they have changed it. Finally, I will be telling you about Colombia's present as well as the past, so sit back and tune into this educational documentary. The first group of people to claim Colombia before the Europeans were the native Colombians. These specific tribes were the Pueblos and the Abogorans. These tribes were South Americans. After they left, Colombia still standed as it was today, except when they were there, they made a few changes. But unfortunately, they did not stay long enough to the point of where they made a large impact of change. The next claimers of Colombia were from Europe. Can you guess who they are? The Europeans, that's right. And when they settled in Colombia, they have affected Colombia majorly. This is because when the Europeans first came and saw Colombia, they had no clue what it was. So they decided to adventure around, but as they saw some things they thoroughly enjoyed, some things not so much. So they changed things, like the lifestyle in Colombia, the cultural side, their towns, as well as the law and government. I hope that as you've been watching my documentary, you've learned a lot about the claimers and who they were and what they intended on as they settled in Colombia. Not only have they affected it, but they've affected the people, the law, the towns, the geography, and most importantly, the land. So assuming as you were listening, you've learned a lot more than you knew before. So in conclusion, like I've said, Colombia is one of the most fascinating countries in the world. So one day I hope you get the chance to visit.